This weekend, Kenneth Branagh's follow-up to Murder on the Orient Express, Death on the Nile, hits theaters. So let's talk about it. Death on the Nile is the latest adaptation of the Agatha Christie novel of the same name and the second film in the Kenneth Branagh adaptation of this series. Let me know what you thought about it down below in the comments section, as well as what was your experience with Murder on the Orient Express, to kind of give a point of reference for how you feel about this one in comparison to the previous one. And let's get started with the review. And the best way to describe this movie is that it is a very slick production of familiar source material. Kenneth Branagh has been a top-tier storyteller in Hollywood for 30 years now. He knows how to direct a film, construct a story, and he's taking classic source material. He's been given a nice budget, and you're getting a really nice, well-produced version of this story. Of course, it has a star-studded cast, a bunch of familiar faces, people with plenty of on-screen charisma that are just fun to watch. And they're in kind of a genre that always is inherently mischievous, and there's deception and emotion, all sorts of things. So the actors are given a lot to play around with. Likewise, it's set in Egypt, and so there's a bunch of gorgeous things to shoot. It's a fun, exotic location, in which case it's inherently very watchable if you like whodunits. But it's a slick, well-produced version of familiar source material. I don't know how many times Death on the Nile has been adapted before, but this is definitely not the first adaptation of the material. And likewise, when Agatha Christie is very much such an inspiration on so many films that have followed afterwards, so many different stories that have twists, turns, and everything like that, sometimes when you go back to the original, it feels derivative simply because we've seen all the copies so many times. And this story has been told before, in which case it's all well done. If you like this sort of genre, which I do, if you like these actors, which I do, if you like Kenneth Branagh, which I do, there's a lot to enjoy here. But it was also the sort of movie that just felt like, yeah, been there, done that, which is entirely true as well. That was kind of my experience with kind of the whole movie of like, yeah, okay, yeah, I'm digging this well enough. I just don't know when I would rewatch this. I don't know when I would be like in the mood to put this movie on. And I think because the whodunit genre is kind of narrow, there's not a ton of stuff in there. Like I watched Knives Out and I went, wow, this is just like a fresh, original, nice version of the whodunit. Like it's a nice breath of fresh air into this genre. Whereas this feels like that's a well-produced version of what you expect from one of these movies. And, you know, there's some nice touches all throughout the film where you, with Hercule Poirot, I mumbled that intentionally because I do not know how to properly pronounce that name. You get more of his backstory. It dives into him a little bit and even does like some flashback type things. So you start to understand what makes him tick and why this person that can be very affable also seems very distant. One interesting little touch in here is you got Russell Brand in the cast, who's so known for playing these wacky, wild stoner characters or saying all sorts of stuff on YouTube that's kind of crazy and out there. And he plays his character straight. Like, I don't think it's a funny line. None of it's played silly. Like, you get to see dramatic actor Russell Brand in this movie. Just kind of a nice change of pace. And, likewise, someone like Gal Gadot, who normally plays the superhero, and here she's playing this extravagant, wealthy person that's kind of a very complicated character because she has like such positive attributes and really bad ones at the same time, and everyone kind of loves her and hates her at the same time. So you have complex characters, you have backstories. Like I said, it's all well done. It has all the things it's supposed to have with a big enough budget to pull it off and a big enough budget to bring in an all-star cast. It just didn't leave much of a mark on me because I just feel like I've seen this sort of thing before. And I don't think anywhere I'd heard the story for this before to have had it spoiled for me. When I saw Murder on the Orient Express, I hadn't seen the previous versions, but I knew what the end was. With this one, I didn't know the end going in, but I pretty well was able to guess it. Going through the story, the way things play out, the way characters are presented and everything, I was able to guess it essentially. And I think that's mostly just because I've seen all the other movies in this genre, or I've seen a bunch of the other movies in this genre. So I was pretty mixed positive. I would go positive on it, but it's like this. If you really like these movies, if you really dug the first movie, I think you'll like this one just as much. It's another solid version of that thing that you dug with the previous one. So like my wife liked the first one a lot more than I did. I was kind of mixed positive on that one too. And on her comment card at the press screening, she circled very good. She really dug this movie. And I imagine that'll be the case. People that dig what Kenneth Branagh is doing with this material will dig this one again. But I don't think it's going to win anyone over that was a little bit more critical of the previous one. And so that's kind of my take on it. They're enjoyable enough. They're watchable enough. I dig them enough. But I'm not in love with these movies. So because I did enjoy it, I did have enough fun time with it. My wife, if she decided she wanted to watch it again, I wouldn't object. I wouldn't have issue with that. So I'm going to go with the B-. It's mixed positive for me. It's a well-made version of something that feels familiar. This is only for people that love the genre, love these types of movies. It's not the best of these movies. If you're trying to get introduced, I'd point you towards like Knives Out. That's my recommendation. Let me know what you thought down below in the comment section, and keep talking movies too much.